Married at First Sight, episode 13 of season 17. They're in Denver. I am uncomfortable. Everybody's doomed to fail. This is making marriage look absolutely miserable. Is anybody going to apply for the show after seeing this season? I wouldn't. Knowing that they knowing that they take people like Brennan after doing rigorous tests, absolutely not. Okay, my name is Rosenica. Welcome to my casual YouTube channel. This is where I talk about anything casual or monumental in relation to life and life's events. And one of these life things is just TV shows that we watch. So I watch the TV shows, I write down what stands out to me, I talk about them on my channel, I do kind of a recap, but I don't discuss each and every little thing. I touch on the things that like made me want to write a note on it so we can discuss, because this show is meant for discourse. Honestly, this show is meant for discourse. It's a very interesting social experiment. I love it. I've been watching it for a while now and it's very interesting. I don't love this season. This season is actually very discouraging, but I love the premise in general. But I also think they kind of have run their course. I've said this in a couple videos, but like, have we hit our unicorns of Married at First Sight? Like, there's literally like a 2% success rate. And the people that make it, like, really make it and end up having children and like longevity. After, like, I just feel like there's just no hope anymore. Like, we just want to see the drama at this point. Anyway, is it Denver? Is it Denver? Or is it just the show? No, let me actually get into this. Okay, so we start off with Austin and Becca. I'm just gonna go between couples and like talk about it. Austin and Becca get more comfortable with each other and on more sexual topics, which is very interesting. More so on Austin's side, and I feel so like uncomfy, just like, it's so uncomfy probably for this whole entire season, just watching Austin be like, yeah, so not this week, like, sorry about it. It just the pressure on him. Ugh. And then Becca, you feel so bad for her too because she doesn't feel desired. I feel like that's not relatable in the way that I've ever felt that in my marriage, because me and my husband are very attracted to each other, and I've had a lot of like very physical, I don't know, we just haven't struggled in that way, but like there have been, you go through like, I was gonna say seasons, it has never been a season, go through like some like days of like having that specific thing of feeling of wanting your partner more than they want you, you know, or like you just being a little bit too busy or them just being whatever, different states of mind. So I feel for Austin and Becca right now. I really do, for both of them, because they're both none of this is out of malicious intent. Yeah, it just is so uncomfortable to see them talk about sexual things that are not happening. Emily and Brennan, by the way, Brennan this episode, I think, just solidified to me what type of a person he is. I don't think he's mentally well. I feel like, especially with he keeps on insisting, let's just be positive. Let's only talk about the positive. I don't want to be, I'm not going to be painted in a specific light. It's like, why would you be painted in a specific light to talk if you're only going to talk about your real feelings? You're scary. Like, he absolutely should be a red flag to everyone. I don't think anybody should like him. If you see yourself in Brennan, get a therapist of your own, but you probably don't believe in therapy for real. It just gives me very, I don't know, I'm just scared. Like, so Emily and Brennan read their letters to their past selves, and this is always typically like a moment where the couples get more vulnerable with each other, even if they're having issues. I feel like this is a moment where the couples are like, oh my god, I didn't even know, like, I thank you for being so for real. Even if they're like going at each other, like hating each other, I feel like this is a moment where everybody's like, oh my god, you were a child once, that is crazy, like, let me cater to your inner child. And then they do. But I will say that Emily's was like 10,000 times more solid than Brennan's, because Brennan's was very much giving, I wrote this at a high school level. I could have written this at my sophomore year of high school. It's very much giving high school reading level and emotional intelligence level as well. Because it just feels like, okay, you didn't really say much of anything. Oh, well, sometimes your parents are hard on you, but something along the lines of like, your parents can be difficult sometimes and you don't really understand them. But they do love you. They just have a funny way of showing it. It's like, what does that even mean? They love you, but they have a funny way of showing it. What's a funny way of showing it? I swear, it's really hard, I think, for people who are abused by parental figures to like really come to terms with abuse or neglect or whatever, because we are constantly being told like, those are your parents, you should love them. At the end of the day, they're trying their best, like, even if they really severely neglected you and abused you, they just have a funny way of showing that they love you. That's giving that. Like, you don't have to be like, they have a funny way of showing. You can be like, I felt neglected, potentially abused, not catered to at all. My needs weren't met when I was a child. You can say that and not be like, they have a funny way of showing it. No. I feel like Brennan is not coming to terms with like something that has legitimately happened with his parents. I felt that since day one, especially when seeing his parents interact with him. It's like, something is weird here. And I thought for a minute it was like the parents' issues, and then he was just gonna have to break out of that and become married, and we were gonna like see him. But no, he has issues, I think, that have been placed onto him. And I think that the sister that I guess Brendan doesn't talk to, the parents may or may not talk to. I think the sister may be the only normal one. I want an interview with Brendan's sister to figure out like what the heck is wrong with him, because I feel like she might be a normal person. And my mom pointed out, because we were talking about the show, that they probably stopped talking because Brendan wasn't able to control her. When Brendan is incredibly controlling. I could spend this whole entire video talking about Brendan and how I'm scared of him, because I see some figures in my life who are controlling and scary, potentially, and manipulative, reflected in him. So it just triggers me to want to just talk about everything, to be like, listen, run from these people for real. Okay. Yeah, so Brendan doesn't really get real in anything he says, so why would it be in that letter? Becca, Emily, and Claire all talk while Austin and Brennan talk. The whole Austin and Brennan thing, it's very much giving we're the only children's club. Although Brennan is an only child, very much so acts like one, and then Austin is confirmed only child. Sorry to my only children, people who watch these videos. I love y'all from a distance. But seriously, why are we seeing Claire? Like, I don't understand why only children are going to subscribe in droves from my channel. Why are we seeing Claire? Does anybody really care about Claire's journey? I feel bad for saying that. I really do, because I think that Claire is a deserving person of love. The audience's love and somebody else's love in the future. But it's like, okay, your journey ended. It ended. I don't really want to see you anymore, just to be honest. Especially with Cameron. I don't care about Cameron. Cameron to me kind of just gives like, I have a heart condition. So, and you gave it to me. So I'm just going to update the camera every 3 days. Just let everybody know how awful of a partner you were. Whatever. Uncomfortable. I just don't want to see it. I don't want to see these updates. I want to separate from them. They've separated from each other. Let's separate from them as the show. Michael joins. Honestly, how are we feeling about Michael? Can anybody let me know how we're feeling about Michael? Nobody ever comments under these videos. If you ever feel inclined to comment, please let me know how you feel about Michael, because I want to know. I'm a little weirded out by him. I like creative people. I am a creative person. I like when people are individuals and loud about it, but there's something about the way he does it. He's just giving, no, I sound like a bully. I was going to say he's just giving weird kid in the class that like is too quirky for you, you know? I feel bad about saying that one, but I don't know. If you want to defend Brennan if you want to defend Michael, defend him in the comments. Let me know how you feel for real. No one's going to let me know how I feel. Okay, so he joins in. He talks about the fact that they've they have picked a bride for him. Everybody's acting like they care. I don't think anybody really wants to be Michael's friend and like really is invested in the story the way that the viewers potentially could be. Are the viewers even invested? It was awkward because, I mean, it wasn't overtly awkward in the way that there were like multiple silences, but it just felt like this is a storyline that's like a little too new. We're all on the edge of divorce. You are like just starting your journey. We can't even relate, type of a thing. Brennan talks to his friend Richie, and Richie like surprisingly gets a little bit more real than Brennan could ever be. And so I'm expecting Brennan's friends to be just like the same as him. To be just like, let's not talk about anything negative, bro. Like, the only thing we're gonna talk about is how we're doing better, how we level up, how, I don't know, we disrespect women because they deserve it. Like, I expect a misogynist gang that just, like, affirms to each other that they are the man. Like, do you not see that from Brennan? So Richie gets more real and it's just like checking in with Brennan. And I'm also wondering, like, how the heck does Brennan keep up with his friends? I know that men really don't care about having like friends of good character the way that women do. But it was weird like seeing a real thing come out of somebody's mouth and Brennan actually like, if he isn't pretending to like listen to him and nod, it's weird to see it and be like, how do you have people who like actually speak sense maybe into your life, but you can't speak sense yourself? I feel like all of my friends are like pretty similar in the way that we all speak and like the level of frequency that we're on. Like, I don't know. Then I'm just kind of like, why would anybody put up with you? I don't feel bad about saying kind of rude things about Brennan because I just feel like he's just a weirdo and it makes me scared. So Brennan's kind of like, well, we're still kind of like friends. There's not a lot of romantic things going on here. And then Richie says, okay, but are you like really doing it for real? And Brennan says, well, we had lunch, and we do some things together. And then verbatim asks, does that make you feel comfortable that I'm giving it my all and doing things differently? Verbatim asks his friend if that makes his friend feel comfortable. He wants his friend's validation so bad and couldn't care less if he gets Emily's. He wants other people's validation so bad. That's why he only wants positivity. He only wants to be praised. He only wants to be acknowledged. He only wants things that affirm his view of like his existence. And that's why he doesn't like when people are negative. It's because he doesn't want to talk about anything real that could reflect back to himself. He's gonna have to look into the mirror and actually deal with things and work through things. He keeps claiming like, oh, I want to get better at things. No, you actually don't. You don't want to get better for real. The fact that he asks his friend just gives us like the validation to know that this man cares so much about a fellow man's approval. And if he strived as hard to just receive like a yes from Emily in the way that he did his friend Richie, he probably would be in a much better place. Richie then says, yo, like, honestly, you could do that with anybody. I could get I, who doesn't care to have romantic friendships, could get lunch with a friend. Like, are you really putting your all into it for real? Because I feel like you're not. He didn't say that, but he kind of did. And then Brennan's like, right. But he doesn't say right in the way that he's like, you know what, that makes me think. I think he just kind of nods along. This whole entire experiment, this is so dedicated to Brennan, I should be ashamed. This whole entire experiment is literally just Brennan putting on this act to be perceived on TV as the good guy who's trying his best, when we all see this is a man who just came on TV and is going through the motions of like just trying to get through it, but he's not doing anything for real. He ends up lying to his friend. I think he's lying in the way that he doesn't feel like this. He says, Emily is one of the most amazing humans I've ever met. That is a lie, because if she was one of the most amazing humans you've ever met, you would give her the respect of like really making sure that she's comfortable, really making sure that you're doing things for her. You just would give her baseline respect. You would go out of your way to make her feel like physically desired, mentally desired, emotionally desired. He's lying because he knows what's good to say on TV, and it's just like, it's giving, producers are giving him the lines and he's saying them. And it's like weird. This is like the worst show to go on. He should have gone on like Too Hot to Handle or some other nonsense Netflix TV show where you can be a villain and people will root for you. This show is not the place for people who have bad character to come on. Yet we get them every single season. Every single season somebody comes on, they didn't know what the show was about. Becca and Austin talk sex and intimacy. And I'm gonna apologize to Austin, even though literally nobody watches these videos. I'm sorry that I like said it was kind of childish for him to go slow, because when he was talking about the fact that like for a guy it feels hard to be pressured into having intimacy when you just don't feel it, that I feel bad, because if the roles were reversed, sure, whatever, we'll reverse the roles this time. If it was a woman saying like I just don't feel comfortable, and yet like has like as sweet of a character as Austin seems to have, and is like trying to do as much, we wouldn't say anything. We wouldn't be like, oh my god, Austin, oh my do you even like her for real? Because like, what the heck is going on here? I'm just saying I feel like I should give him the same consideration that I would give like a woman to be like, I just go a little slow. I'd be like, girl, you know what? Yeah, you go a little slow. That's smart. That's good. Whereas I'm kind of like, awesome, grow up, like your child. Like, that's my official stance is Austin deserves to go slow. But I also kind of feel like he still is a man at the end of the day, so we're really what's behind that for real, because anytime a man goes slow, I feel like we find out there's like something else. I don't know. So Bo, I feel for Becca. Like I mentioned in the beginning of the video, which was way too early for me to mention this. It's like so incredibly hard to talk about sex and intimacy. I can't even imagine doing that on national TV. I feel slightly uncomfortable talking to my YouTube channel. My YouTube channel. Because like there was one time I tried to talk intimacy with my therapist, which I need to go on a further tangent later when I start a Patreon about the fact that there was one time where me and my husband had not done anything intimate for like a couple days, or maybe it'd been a week at some point. It'd maybe been a week or so, and like that was not normal for us at the time. It was like a while ago. And it was so uncomfortable explaining that to my therapist. I wanted to like break down and cry and be like, I'm so sorry I brought this up, like, because she also was very uncomfortable with like me bringing up sex with her because we're not used to going to like physical intimacy. We typically just talk about the fact that I'm like stressed and anxious. Like we do not be getting into spicy things, and it felt very weird. So I feel for Becca and Austin. Because it's like the whole entire world is knowing about this and has been knowing about this for the past like 5 episodes. Oh god. Brennan and Emily have fun at soccer, which was kind of refreshing to see. Honestly, it is refreshing that they can have good moments. And of course, it has to be an Emily activity because Emily's the only one putting effort in this relationship. Emily opens up about her struggles with being pushed too hard when she was younger because she was in soccer. I'm so happy I wasn't an athlete. Whoa. Oh, I'm so happy I was an athlete. Because I just feel like if you have some sort of athletic ability and a parent that's too hard on you in other aspects of life, is hard on you in sports, I can see that definitely taking a mental toll as to how you deal with things and feeling pressured. So she opens up and it's like really sweet that she's like doing this like fun activity, and she's also getting deep. Of course, it doesn't hit the right audience. It's not Brendan. So Brendan essentially kind of makes her backtrack and is like, but you like appreciated it, right, though? Like you got your character from that, because I wish I had been coached when I was younger. So I think that like that's really a good thing, because it like made you who you That argument is so, not argument, that, like, statement of, it made you who you are, though. So, like, aren't you happy? No, she brought it up for a reason. She was hurt. She just wants to talk through things, and be honest about them. And you want to constantly spin it into something that it wasn't meant to be. I just, triggered. I'm triggered. Becca, okay. Yeah, no, seriously, that's all I have to say about the soccer thing. No, seriously. Stop. Becca and Austin's game to build intimacy makes me so uncomfortable. Everything about the sexual thing makes me uncomfortable, because it's like uncomfortable watching people be uncomfortable about sex. It's uncomfortable talking about and looking at sex in general on TV, at least for me, growing up in a Christian household. But like seeing this is extra, like, oops, this doesn't feel natural. But, I mean, they do build up some intimacy, and you're kind of like, oh, okay, because they do end off, and you're kind of like, oh, whoa. Emily and Brennan meet up with Dr. Pia. Uncomfortable. Everything is uncomfortable. Emily is honest, for once, and Brennan is confused as to why Emily is being so for real. Dr. Pia starts out being like, so how are we doing? And Brennan's like, good. We're doing good, right? No, yeah, we're doing good. And then Emily's like, honestly, last week where we left off, you brought up this thing, and Brennan said he didn't want to do it. So I really don't feel good. I feel like everything is on his terms, and I'm not great. And then Brennan's like, so I don't know where that came from. We just had an amazing day at soccer. I'm sorry. The first time I was Brennan fake talked to the camera. I talked over there. Sorry. No. Yeah. He's like, no, yeah, I don't know what she's talking about. No, he does seem scary because he's not validating her feelings at all. The whole entire therapy session was very scary. I'm going to walk through some of the things, because this is, like, important to point out specifics as to what's wrong with this. Emily calls out the fact that they're his rules, because they are his rules. We've been seeing it every single week. It's his perspective, it's his rules, it's his whole entire marriage. It's his marriage that he's constructing. And then Brendan gets mad. He's like, that's frustrating. That's frustrating. Scary to see him admit that. Because then he kind of like brings up, oh, every time she asks me to do something, I do it or say it. And then she's saying, oh, they're his rules. Manipulation. That is like a way to bring something up and make it seem like the person who brought up the initial claim is not credible, because it makes it seem like, oh, I am not in control. She just asks me all the time. She just asks me to do things. So that's like false. And then as things are going on and she's being more real, he says, like, can we just be positive? Why are you doing it? Just be positive, Brendan. You're scary. Dr. Pia talks about how Brennan is defensive. Thank you for calling that out, Dr. Pia. I don't understand how Dr. Pia can, like, keep her cool in these moments. I imagine her heart is a little bit raised. Also, probably as a therapist, she's probably used to, like, difficult people. I could not deal with difficult people if I was a therapist. I used to think I had it in my... I used to think I had it to be a therapist. I don't. I don't want to talk to people who don't want to get better, who don't want to actually heal, who don't want to be dedicated to being good people, like, that, like, seem like they are. So, Emily brings up that Brennan is reactive off camera, but she does that in, like, a... not when they're in therapy, when it's like a confessional camera. And period. Speak on it. Of course that man is reactive off camera. That man is reactive on camera as well, but hides it and makes it look more subtle and a little bit more like, oh, I didn't know he felt like this. Scary. The whole, I don't understand where this is coming from. What do you mean? Men in the whole, I don't understand where he coming from. I just feel like it's just an excuse to try to skirt something that is uncomfortable. Okay, cool. Well, maybe ask questions where this is coming from, because we're talking about it. We're literally right here talking about it. So what do you mean? Brennan says that he allows his friends to challenge him after Dr. Peter asks, like, do you let your friends, like, be hard with you for real? Because you're not letting us do it. He says he lets his friends challenge him, and then kind of slips up and says, like, he doesn't want to be challenged by Emily. And that could be under the guise of, well, I just don't know her that well. But I think it's under the guise, or I think it's just under the fact that, like, he doesn't let women do that. I think that he doesn't like women to challenge him. I think he only wants, like, a man to challenge him. I think he only could relate to men. And I think that's why his sister is out of his life, because she challenged him and didn't want to be controlled by him. I think that's what that is. Like, just, like, let's be real. But I just feel like when it comes to people who are scary like this, and I see scary in the way that I feel like this is potentially an abusive relationship, or can I say abusive? That's a little strong. It looks like, is it potentially abusive or just straight up toxic? That typically their views on gender are of misogynistic. They have misogynistic traits, so I don't feel uncomfortable being like, he's misogynistic, because it's scary. Like, sometimes I want to be careful about the way that I label people, but I just feel like everything in my bones is telling me this is a man that needs to work on himself, and, like, he's not willing to put in that work to become a better person or partner. So then in the end, Brendan kind of just does get to be a victim, and kind of just gets to be like, you make me feel, or Dr. Peta says, you're making him feel defensive. She didn't say that, but that's another thing about being a therapist, is you can't just straight up be like, Brendan, cut the BS. You have to be like, so Brendan, why are you feeling like that? Why are you feeling blah, blah, blah? And I felt so bad for Emily in that moment, because it was like, so he just gets to end off being like, oh, I just, you make me feel so defensive. You make me feel like you're not saying the things that I do. You're not doing anything. You're not doing anything, Brendan. So infuriating. Like, this, it's crazy that they let Brendan get through this. And I understand that sometimes you can't catch people who are, like, potentially narcissistic or controlling because they put on a front probably for the tests and present who they want you to see. But it's also really sad. I feel like maybe the questioning needs to change. Maybe some sort of things need to change so that they stop allowing, like, this archetype of a human to get through. Because it's always one person who's, like, not dedicated seriously to working on themselves and, like, having a good marriage. And then you think, like, they're probably doing this on purpose because this is TV and TV needs to sell. But it's so discouraging that there is somebody who suffers. There's always a sufferer, and it's typically a woman. There have been men that have suffered at the hands of a woman through Married at First Sight, where it's been, like, tough. But it's just crappy to see. It's like, it makes it hard to watch the show, honestly. Then we end up seeing Becca and Austin. Oh my god, did they consummate the marriage after this? We'll find out next week. The wedding and everything. Oh my god. Is the wedding next week? It better be next week. They're dragging this out for real. They better meet next week. I'll be mad if they don't just straight up meet. I don't know how they still have episodes going on. I don't know what the heck. I don't know how they still have couples. I don't know how the heck this show is functioning at all. Anyway, if you watch The Bachelor, I'll be recording episodes on The Bachelor as it returns on the 22nd. Oh my god, I'm so excited. Wherever you are, whoever you are, whatever you're doing, whatever time of day it is, I hope you have a good morning, afternoon, or night. Let's see if I can hit the button to take the power off instead of dragging it out.